Mensch trinkt Bier.
Okay, ich glaube, ich fange einfach an. Zuerst will ich sagen, Leute, verschiedene Leute, also eigentlich viele Leute, sie werfen mich seit Jahren vor, dass ich zu faul bin, um Deutsch zu lernen. Und ich muss leider zugeben, seit Jahren stimmt das auch. Aber es ist besser geworden. Zum Beispiel, wenn jemand fick dich zu mir sagt, ich weiß, was gemeint ist. Also ich sage euch das nur, um zu sagen, dass ich trotzdem auf Englisch lese. Also, okay, so bitte Geduld und don't throw things at me. Right? This first thing is about when I was a kid. I was very young, and this is called the Truth About Bon Jovi. And it has a small introduction. You can see that it's like in italic, so that's my introduction. It says, her name was Kat. She was beautiful. She played bass in a band, and I was in love. So I spit on her. In 1980, I was a 17-year-old punker. So I did what punks do. I spit. A lot. I spit so much between 1979 and 1982 that you could have filled the Black Sea with the liquid leaving my body. So it goes like this. I was hanging out with some friends of mine at the local punk place called The Island in Houston, Texas. I'm not sure which band was playing, but I do believe it was a band called The Teardrop Explodes, if you remember them. But I do remember what I had on. Jeans, Converse shoes, a leather jacket, self-made Sex Pistols t-shirt, and sunglasses. At night. And you wouldn't believe how cool I felt. It didn't matter that I really couldn't see anything, and that when I spit, it was mostly on myself. I was a punker, you know. Punk, with a capital P. And the art of posing, the pose, looking cool, what Martin says about style, was one thing, was something I was still experimenting with. Looking cool, or at least trying to, was simply more important than knowing who I was talking to. So I'm standing there with a Budweiser beer, and talking some dumb shit about the band playing, and this is the same shit we've all talked, you know, it's kind of like, I hear the singer's an asshole. So stuff like that. When I decide that I'm not acting cool enough, and I couldn't figure out why. So I was thinking, let me see, is my hair standing up? Which means, of course, I had hair at that point. It doesn't work anymore, but it's okay. Actually, it was, yes. Do I look bored and pissed off? Do the newly cut holes in my jeans look believable? Kinda. So what is it? What is it? Why do I feel like something's missing? Something is missing. Of course, how could I be so stupid? I forgot to spit. So I turned around, sunglasses still on, and I spit. A very big one. And I didn't think about it again. The next couple of weeks after that went by normally. I went to school, actively hated my parents, got into fights, stuff like that with the local cowboys. It was horrible. Just normal stuff. But one thing was different. There was one very big difference. The local punks who used to ignore me now stopped talking whenever I came in the room. And they started calling me names that I've used myself over the years, you know, poser, tourist, moron, dumb fuck, those kind of names. And I really didn't know why. members of the local all-girl band called the Midals, they really seemed to hate me. It was like, if they were in the same room and they heard me talking, they would stop what they were doing and listen. Then they would all sit together and laugh about what a stupid little shithead I was. It was all a mystery to me, and after a while I started to think it was normal. Because if you're talking about punk rock, I don't know exactly what it is right now, but it used to be, you can call it a vehicle of people. I went to see U2 in Denver, Colorado. This is years and years and years ago, and I went to the bathroom, the toilet, saw a guy standing in front of the mirror, and I swear to God, he took a razor blade, stood there in front of the mirror and said, cool, cool, you know. So they thought that kind of shit is jewelry, schmuck. So it seemed only logical that if they told me I was an asshole, it means they thought I was a great guy, you know. But of course that was not true. A good friend of mine named Lisa, she told me about it a couple of days later. She came to me and she said, "You spit on her." And I said, "On who?" She said, "On Kat, the bass player from the Midals." And I said, "I did not. Are you crazy?" And like I said in the introduction, I thought Kat was pretty cool because she wasn't only one of the first girl bass players I had ever seen, she was also one of the best looking, so it was really nice. But she said, no, you did. At the Teardrop Explode concerts, you spit right in her face. And I thought, oh my God, are you sure she didn't like it? No. Lisa didn't get angry very often, but I could see she was getting a little bit frustrated with me. And she said, "Of course she didn't like it, you fool. You spit in her face." And I said, "Oh, I don't remember spitting on her." Because it seemed to me that if I wanted to show my affection for Kat by spitting on her, that I would at least remember doing it. Lisa spoke to me like she was talking to a kid. She said, "Lee, I don't know if you were taking drugs, but I do know you were drinking. It's that Budweiser beer. And you were drunk. We had to carry you out, so it's no surprise that you don't remember anything." After she told me that, slowly the horror of it all, it dawned on me. I had spit in a girl's face. For no reason. And now everybody hated me. So I told Lisa, I said, "Lisa, you have to excuse me for a few minutes. I think I'm going to go cut my wrist." A little side story that belongs to the whole thing is in 1980, this is in Houston, right? It was like a city of 5 million people. And the story about Houston is that I do believe outside of San Francisco, they have the largest population of gay people in the entire world. Everything is like a huge gay population. And, but the punk scene was really small, as was what's called alternative radio, so college radio. But on Sunday nights, on WKLH, local college radio station, you could spend a couple of hours listening to what we call today alternative music. And it was really neat for that time because, like, once again, like Martin says, alternative music, there is no alternative. It's everywhere. I mean, if Green Day is selling 6 million, then it's hardly an alternative. But at that point, we thought it was. And you could listen to the radio, listen to the Dead Kennedys, and go, ah! And I played it for my mother, and she thought I was sick. But what was really cool was that on this radio station, they would do interviews with the local bands. And what was even cooler is that you could call up and you could talk to the bands. So about a week after my conversation with Lisa, of course, the Midals were on the radio. I made a phone call. He said, "Good evening, you're on WKLH. You got a question for the band?" And I said, "Yes, I'd like to talk to the bass player, Kat." He said, "1 second." I waited. A woman's voice came on the phone. "Yes." I knew I had to talk fast or she would hang up on me. I said, "Hello, my name is Lee. I'm the guy that spit in your face, and man, I'm really, really sorry. You see, I had these sunglasses on and I didn't see anything, and I'm really sorry." But Kat was cool because I don't fall in love with uncool people. She laughed a little and she told me, "Oh, do it, Suze." I said, "Well, yeah." And she said, "Well, maybe we can meet on Wednesday at the Joan Jett concert." And I said, "Well, great, fine. We'll meet at Joan Jett concert. We'll see you then." That was the beginning of war between my parents and I. And and all this punk rock stuff, I don't know why it's important to anybody, but I do know why it's important to me, because it seemed I got into it so much because my parents hated it so bad. It's like, it was shocking. You know, my father thought that I was, he thought I was a homosexual, and that I was a junkie, and only because of the music I listened to, and the way I dressed, and everything. So he told me, he said that I wouldn't be going to see Joan Jett. He said, "No, you're not going downtown. It's dangerous down there." And I screamed back at him, "It's dangerous here." But he wouldn't listen to me. So I stayed home and I hated it. And then I met Lisa at school the next day, and I asked her, how it was. I said, "Did you see Kat last night?" And she said, yeah, I saw Kat. She was together with Christy." My heart stopped. See, Christy was another good friend of mine. She was a very sympathetic young lady. She was also a regular at most gay discos in Houston. Christy was a lesbian. Now, I don't want to get into macho kind of shit here about, egos and all this stuff, but it's a hard knock if you fall in love with a girl and you find out that she's a lesbian. So my reaction was normal. I said, what was my reaction? I said, yeah. It was normal. And I asked Lisa, I said, "You mean they were together?" She said, "They came in together, they watched Joan together, and they left together." I thought, And after a short pause, I said, "You mean together? She said, "That's what I mean, Lee." Of course, here comes my reaction. "I'm gonna kill myself," is what I said. And Lisa was always more intelligent than I was. She said, "No, you're not." Of course, she was right. She said, "Kat's too old for you anyway." And I thought about it, and Lisa was right, because I was 17, like I said, and Kat was in her late 20s. Probably wouldn't have worked anyway. "Well, then I'll kill Christy!" I screamed even louder, forgetting that I was in school. I also forgot that Christy, almost like everybody else on this planet, is bigger than I am. And if anybody was going to be dying, I would be the one doing it. Of course, after that, they knew that I had problems, so they sent me to the school psychologist. They wanted to know why I felt the need to murder my school friends. And I told him, I said, "Because I'm in love." He seemed to understand. They sent me home for the rest of the day, where I locked myself in my room and listened to my Maidal single until I cried myself to sleep. But the story has, if not a happy ending, it wasn't that bad. I never did see Joan Jett, and I'm sorry about that, because she used to be good. But as it turns out, Kat was not a lesbian, only bisexual. So here's the thing. For you younger guys out there, and I know there are younger guys out there, I'll give you some advice. If you want to meet women, buy them flowers, write poems for them, take them to dinner, tell them they're beautiful, do anything at all. I mean, if you want, you can even get on your knees. It works sometimes. But don't spit on them. I got lucky, right? I got lucky, but that was like 10 years ago. If you really feel the need to spit on someone, try sneaking into a Bon Jovi concert. Fight your way up front, and when John Bon Jovi, when he gets to the part where he's like, shaking people's hands, and he was like, "Hey, all right, love you." Let her rip. Because things have changed since 1980, but they haven't changed that much. The end. All right, good, thanks. I'd like to talk about my shoes. Not these shoes. These shoes are not that cool, but I do have cool shoes at home, and I'll tell you about them. This is called I would kill for my shoes. It's like this. I recently bought a new pair of fake snakeskin shoes. These are no compromise shoes. They're the kind of shoes like when you walk through the city, people either laugh at you or they start screaming and pulling their hair out like, "Oh, where'd you get those shoes?" I like it when that happens. Usually I tell them that I pulled them off a dead pimp in Las Vegas, and the story goes like this. I was playing poker with some lowlives at the Flamingo Hotel. My mother was in the basement doing Betty Davis's hair. One of the punks at the table accused me of cheating. He wanted to get physical, so I had to kill him. Took his shoes while the hole in his stomach was still steaming. Let's look at shoes for a minute. On any given day, my choice of shoes not only influences the way I walk, but also how I feel. Now, you can argue about whether this is good or bad, but it is a fact. Take the example of my godlike snakeskin shoes. A young man came up to me at a concert in Neumünster. It was a couple of months ago, and he told me, without any provocation, he told me he hated my shoes. He said, I hate your shoes. I looked down to see what kind of shoes he had on. Jordan Air from Nike. I looked back at my shoes, and then I smiled, and I said, you don't like my shoes? He goes, no, I hate them. I said, why? Why? He said, well, because they're ugly, and because they're on you. I looked at the kid, and I was thinking, I said, should I try to explain to him how important these shoes are to me? Should I take this opportunity and try to educate this guy about abstract ideas like taste and style, about how there, basically, if you believe it or not, there is life after 17, and that one day he would understand the importance of being an individual, both in the... Okay, snakeskin is in right now, but when they're on me, it's a different thing, right? You know, both in the way you dress and the way you act. The question is, should I try to help this guy? No, of course not. Fucking idiot. So I said to him, I said, let me get this straight. You don't like my shoes because they're ugly and because they're on me. He said, yep. And he spit on the ground right next to my shoes. And I said, well, I understand. Maybe you'd like them better if they were on you. And then I kicked him in the side of the knee. Now, I'm no stranger to knee problems myself. And by the way he fell, I knew that within the next few weeks he would have to be operated on. I said, you may not like my shoes, but at least I can walk. I don't think you'll be needing any shoes for a time. And then I stole his Nikes. Because I like Michael Jordan, you know, in Chicago. They were good. I walked away knowing that I had done the right thing. And the way I walked was that of someone who knows he is superior. Shoes make me feel like that. It's like when I was 15 years old and playing baseball in North Carolina. Now, baseball shoes in those days, they used to have metal spikes on them, really like, not razor sharp, but very sharp metal spikes. I thought they were fantastic, but they made them, they were illegal a few years later because too many kids were coming home from practice with poked out eyes and punctured lungs and stuff like that. Because that's the fun part about baseball shoes. When you're running around the bases and you slide into third base trying to look like a hero, you always slide feet first. I used to wear my baseball shoes to school. Saved my life. 2 years later, I heard the Sex Pistols for the first time, and nothing, and I do mean nothing, including my choice of footwear, would ever be the same again. I wanted the engineer boots, and I do believe I saw a guy wearing engineer boots. They're biker boots, basically, and they have steel toes. And it didn't matter that these boots weighed more than I did. Engineer boots were the shoes to be seen in if you considered yourself a young anarchist, which of course I did. I had an anarchy t-shirt, black bondage jeans. I hated the system, and I wanted those boots. So I bought myself a pair, only to have them stolen by some nameless drunk punk a few years later. Yeah, pissed me off. Then I went out and bought another pair, because, you know, anarchy. I still have them, I still wear them sometimes. The secret is this: you really can't beat steel toes. I mean, it's like if somebody made steel steel-toed house shoes, I would buy them. So after the engineer boots, I went through several different phases. Converse shoes, for example, sports shoes. I can't really see the fuckers anymore because everybody's wearing them. It was the same story with Doc Martens. You looking at my shoes? She's looking at my shoes. The same story with Doc Martens. I keep having this dream where Mr. Martin himself is standing next to my bed with a pillow in his hand, telling me how he wants to air cushion my soul. That's a good one. Come on. After that, I even took Elvis's advice, and I got some of those shoes he used to sing about, those blue suede ones. We called them creepers, and I still think they're pretty cool. The blue part is okay. Suede leather, also Wildleder. That's a different story because the thing is, never spill beer on anything suede, also Wildleder. Because within 2 seconds, the shoes that nobody should step on become the shoes that nobody wants to have on. But of course, that's all behind me now. After 32 years, I have finally found these shoes. The shoes that will take me where I want to go. Everywhere. So if we meet sometime in the future, you and I, come up and talk to me. I'm a nice guy. I'll buy you a beer. I'll answer your questions. I'll even shake your hand. But if you don't have anything good to say about my shoes, then my advice is to not say anything at all, because I would kill for my shoes. The end. It goes like this. I was standing with a friend of mine at a club, a punk club in 1980. A band called the Detonators is playing in front of about 12 people, but it doesn't seem to bother them too much. They're rocking pretty hard anyway. The singer is vibrating kind of like the guy in the old Satisfaction video from Devo's. Like that. And I think they're pretty good. My friend, Shanvita, Lisa, seems to agree with me. So we're standing there, digging it, when all of a sudden the singer, still singing, vibrates off the stage and directly over in front of us. No big thing, because these days singers leave the stage all the time. It's normal. I smile at Lisa, she smiles back, and everything is cool. After about 30 seconds, the singer stops, looks at us, pukes on Lisa's shoes, and then vibrates back on stage. At first, Lisa looks surprised, then slowly an even bigger smile crosses her face. Cool, she says. I said, yeah, cool. The singer, I think his name was Razor, later comes over and excuses himself for the puking. And then Lisa said, no, that was great. And I said, yeah, excellent puking. End of first story. Here's the second story. I'm visiting my parents in 1990 on St. Thomas Island in the Caribbean. My father was working in telephones there, so that's why they were in the Caribbean. We're taking a small boat tour around the island along with some people my father works with, including his secretary, Linda. Linda comes up to me and starts talking. She says, so you're living in Russia? And I laugh a little. I say, no, I'm living in Germany. Linda looks confused. Isn't that the same thing? Now, I'm not really good at geography myself, but her question really does surprise me. I thought she wanted to know, well, how's Hitler doing? He's great. He's doing fine. And I said, no, Linda, listen, it's not exactly the same thing. You see, Russia and Germany are two different countries, and... Linda, are you okay? You don't look too good. Linda then runs to the side of the boat and pukes. All day long. That's the end of the second story. Here's the third story. I'm sitting in a beer tent at one of those German-American friendship carnivals in Kaiserslautern that they seem to have at least once a month, and that's because Germans and Americans basically hate each other. I'm in the Army. I was in the Army at that point. I was a killer. And my boss, Sergeant Salinas was his name, Sergeant Salinas and his family are there, and we are, of course, drinking beer. Now, Salinas' son, his name was Scott. Scott is trying to talk to this girl, and she seems to be interested. We continue to drink beer, and after a while, we start drinking seriously, like an X, like, hey, all right. Really cool. It's cool to drink beer fast. Scott is slowly starting to get pretty drunk, but he's doing okay. He's doing okay. The girl he's trying to pick up is now sitting on his lap, on his legs, his shoulders. Scott's looking pretty satisfied, and everything is fine until he decides to have one more beer. I look on as his family starts chanting, drink, 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 drink. Scott's going for it. He's got his woman, got his alcohol, and he's got an audience. Drink, drink, drink. Scott drinks and drinks. He's finished. What a guy. Oh man, this is so cool. We're all cheering and congratulating him when Scott decides that he has had enough. Pukes on himself, his girlfriend, and the table we're sitting at. Nobody says anything. I've never heard a silence louder than that one. The girl excuses herself, and Scott passes out in his own vomit. Thank you very much. Okay. Do you guys watch MTV very much? Oh, MTV. I watch MTV. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. If you watch MTV, especially like if there's this thing called Headbangers Ball where they feature all these metal bands and stuff like that, and they always have these interviews of metal bands on tour. And that's like where they always wear cool sunglasses and they drive around these huge buses. And everything is really cool, but of course it's certainly not like that. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes at these really big concerts. Some of you might know this. I've had one experience with behind the scenes at a big concert, and this is my experience. This is called Joe Has No Balls. Maybe it was the killer look in my eye. Maybe it was the foam in my mouth. To tell the truth, I really don't know why I was picked for stage security at a Deep Purple concert. It's true. I understand that I'm not the most dangerous looking person around. I don't even know why they needed security at all. I mean, okay, whatever. 20 years ago, Deep Purple might have been considered wild in a hippie kind of way. But with an audience where the average age looked to be around 40, 45, maybe 50. Nothing against old people, but it was just hard to imagine things getting out of hand. But our crew manager, Monty, not him, another Monty, seemed convinced that death was in the air. And that I was the only one that could stop it. So I argued with him a little bit. I said, Monty, do you really think these people are going to riot? And he said, just be careful when they play Smoke on the Water. That's when things could get dangerous. I thought, I got ridiculous. But no way out, so I was getting paid. So I took my place stage right, facing the audience. I was thinking to myself, this is totally ridiculous when the lights went down. Deep Purple, featuring the incredible talents of the world's master of musical masturbation, Joe Satriani. They came on, and I got ready. I scanned the faces on my side of the stage looking for a potential assassin. About 20 minutes into the show, a drunk guy tried to climb over the barricade. I sprang into action. I ran over and grabbed him by the neck and started screaming, "What the fuck do you think you're doing? That's Deep Purple, man! They wrote Smoke on the fucking Water! And this is my side of the stage!" Trying to make my life difficult? I looked down to see he had pissed in his pants. I slapped him in the face and dragged him by the hair behind the stage. I then contacted Martin on my handy. I said, "Martin, Lee, I need a cleanup team at Checkpoint Blue, and tell them to bring some garbage bags with them." Then I searched his pockets and stole his Geldbeutel. 2 minutes later, 5 guys with black hoods and rope came and dragged him away. I went back to my post at the side of the stage. About 15 minutes later, an attractive young lady, doesn't matter if she's attractive, a young lady, fought her way through the crowd and asked me if I could get her backstage. I smiled. I said, "Honey, this is 1994. You know how old those guys are?" She explained to me that she only wanted to give Joe a little present and a kiss on the cheek. She said, "I've got every record he ever played on." And I told her, sure, she can come backstage, but she might be a little bit disappointed. She wanted to know why. And I told her, I said, I read a book about Hitler one time, and it said that the reason that he killed all those people in the 40s was because he only had one testicle. It was in the book. It was like a psychological study of the Third Reich, right? And Hitler only got one ball. And she get, how disgusting! And I said, yes, it is. So like I said, you can come backstage, but don't expect too much. Joe's voice is pretty high these days. And she said, "You mean?" And I said, "Yeah, that's right." And then I whispered in her ear, "Joe has no balls." Now the whole time we were talking, Joe was playing. And during one particularly long and painful guitar solo, one guy from the audience asked me if I couldn't tell Mr. Santriani to turn his guitar down. It surprised me, yes. It surprised and encouraged me that this young man actually believed that I could get Joe to turn it down. If you're confronted with stupidity so offensive, it can be a real inspiration sometimes. So the guy was screaming at me, he was saying, "He's hurting my girlfriend's ears." And I said, "Yeah, he's hurting mine too. I'll try." I turned around and told Joe to turn the fucking thing down, or even better, turn it off. Santriani, the arrogant asshole, ignored me. I turned back around and told the guy that Joe wouldn't listen. The information really seemed to piss him off, but I couldn't help him. I was hoping that maybe there would be a riot after all. I could see the newspaper the next day, the headlines. It's like, "Hundreds die in stampede trying to leave Deep Purple concert." "It was horrible," said one survivor. "He wouldn't stop playing. People were screaming and dying all around me, but he didn't care. Just kept playing the same solo over and over." The guy screamed at me again. He said, "It's too fucking loud." I said, "Well then, tell him yourself. Now I'll help you over the barricade." And I grabbed his hand and started to pull. I almost had him on my side of the barricade when the Purple people decided to play that song, "Smoke on the Water." The guy that I was hoping would kill Santriani immediately dropped my hand and started jumping up and down with middle-aged joy. He grabbed his girlfriend, who by this time was bleeding from her ears, stuck her on his shoulders. She took off her shirt and started to sway back and forth in primitive ecstasy. Some of the blood pouring out of her head splattered on my t-shirt. I thought, yeah, that's more like it, that's cool. And I turned around to see the singer, Ian Gillan, jamming on some congas on my side of the stage, which was strange because I couldn't hear any congas And even stranger was the fact that there were no microphones attached to these congas. Not even the real little clip-on ones that all those cool bands use these days. And everything. I wondered if Ian knew this. Nobody else seemed to care. In the end, it didn't matter because he could have had 35 microphones for each conga and you still wouldn't have been able to hear him over Santriani's guitar. Now, all this time Joe had been throwing guitar picks, little plectrum, guitar picks in the audience. When the guy with the bleeding girlfriend caught one, he looked like a kid at Christmas. It was like, yeah, I got one! I got a piece of plastic. I got one! He didn't even recognize it. His girlfriend had fallen off his shoulders. Instead, he grabbed me by my t-shirt and started to shake me around like, I got one! Spit flying everywhere. It was all too much for me, so I gave him a karate chop to the throat, which sent him down to one knee. I was just getting ready to break his spine when the man himself, Ian Gillan, walked over to the edge of the stage and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm trying to save your fucking life! See the girl with the bloody head and no shirt? Ian said, yeah. She's the sister from the singer from REO Speedwagon. And Ian said, no. And I said, yep. And that guy beside her with the piece of plastic in his hand? Drummer from Toto. Ian looked like he had been slapped. And he said, really thoughtfully, he said, I've always hated Toto. And I said, yeah, me too. So can I do my job or not? And he said, yeah, go right ahead. So I pulled out my Zippo, my Harley Davidson Zippo, and I set the guy's hair on fire. You should have seen him run. And the more he ran, the more his hair burned. And the more it burned, well, hey, there wasn't only smoke on the water that night. I took out my handy and contacted Monty. I said, Monty, I'm getting bored. And Monty said, bored? I've got at least 17 people on fire here and you're bored? I said, yes, bored. B-O-R-E. And then I saw the girl with the bleeding ears. I said, Monty, I'll call you back. I jumped over the barricade to help her out. I said, come here, sweetheart, let me help you. She said, who are you? Barely alive. And I said, I used to play golf with the guitar player from Loverboy. I'm good people. I helped her up, took her home. We flew to Las Vegas 2 days later and got married. Monty lets me do security all the time now. It's a job I have come to love. Next week, Uriah Heep and Journey are coming. I personally am looking forward to it. To be continued.
Thanks.
I don't know how long I've been reading. Basically, I have one more. Yeah, fuck it. All right, good. This is called The Death of Motherfucker. I would like to talk really quickly about the words motherfucker, or in its modern version, motherfucker. It's like this. Motherfucker is one of the most abused, misused words of the 90s. When I was growing up, motherfucker was reserved for only the most extreme situations. It's like when you hit your finger with a hammer, it's like, ah, motherfucker, shit, you know, real pain. Or when my father decided to use the MF word, I knew it was time to start praying. You know, it's like real fear. And if I got into a fight at school, the guy or girl, if they said, you're gonna die, motherfucker, chances were good that I actually really was going to die right there. Real terror. Because it's like this, motherfucker meant something in those days. It was thrilling. It was really thrilling. There is no more electric, adrenaline-filled feeling than knowing that your next minute on earth will be your last. So I admitted, I was a motherfucker junkie. I thought it was great. But something happened. Something sad. Motherfucker kind of lost its meaning over the years. And after going through a few mutations like mofo, or of course motherfucker, My favorite cuss word just wasn't as deadly as it used to be. And not as much fun either. So what happened? Is my question. What happened? Who killed motherfucker? We all know the answer to that. Hip-hop. Hip-hop, of course. Hip-hop and the glorification of the ghetto. I see it like this. At some point during the last 10 years, some record company executive figured out that it was possible to make bagfuls of money selling the idea that it's cool to live in poverty and to get shot at by kids every day who haven't even reached puberty yet. Nothing against rap music or the people that sing the songs. I can imagine they're only telling the truth about their lives. They probably see their music as social commentary, which is fine, but most record labels don't give a shit about the problems of living in Compton or the Lower East Side of wherever they live. They want to sell records and CDs, baseball caps, t-shirts, golf balls. They're selling an image. They're selling the ghetto. And if you believe what the average record company guy tells you, people who live in the ghetto use the word motherfucker at least 27,000 times a day. And it goes like this. Yo! Motherfucker, motherfucker! Get the motherfucking fuck out of here before I break your motherfucking face! Motherfucker? Okay. I couldn't care less if everybody in Los Angeles talks like that, because I talk like that sometimes. Basically, everything is for sale. And if you can make money selling a word, then hey, why not? What bothers me is that it's spreading. It's everywhere. There is nothing more idiotic, and you have to excuse me here, but nothing more idiotic than watching another German Rage Against the Machine ripoff band introduce every song with Yo! Muchas Finger! Bewegt eure Arsch! And that's true, because I saw that concert. That's a true thing. So what's happening is that we are witnessing the death of one of the greatest American curse words. And the more I think about it, the more pissed off I get. It's like forcing Christianity on the natives. People who have probably never cursed before in their entire lives are turning into toilet mouths overnight. For example, I go into the bank, get out 50 marks, and the guy working there, he says to me, "Here's your fucking money, motherfucker." I walked into the computer section of Kostadt a couple of days ago. I said, "Excuse me, sir, I'm interested in buying a modem. Can you help me out?" And you know what he said? You know what he said? "Fuck you." I was in a bookstore 4 days ago. I said, "I'm looking for a book about Saarbrücken, which is where I live." He said, "It's a present from my father." And the guy said, "What, for that motherfucker?" I thought that's pretty funny. It's gotten so bad that if I called some guy a motherfucker today, he'd probably thank me for it. An entire culture is being wiped out and nobody cares. Nobody but moi. And that's why I'm starting the Society for the Preservation of Motherfucker. Or spoof. And I've written down a few guidelines for the use of this oh so important word. If you follow these rules, I promise not to send you to one of my special re-education camps in southern Alabama. So it goes like this. When you can use motherfucker. Number 1. Before, during, or in extreme cases, after committing murder. Now, I've always found that to achieve the maximum effect, it's best to scream, "Motherfucker!" while squeezing the trigger, because if they don't die from the gun, they'll die from fear, like that. Number 2, you can use the word motherfucker when referring to any member of any government or religious organization. Number 3, while using a computer. Actually, the computer doesn't even have to be on. It's good enough just to be in the same room with one of those evil motherfuckers. Number 4, you can use it if you find yourself in a car spinning out of control on an icy autobahn in Bayern. And that's because you find yourself in Bayern at all. I've been there, I know how it is. And number 5, you can use it before you die, because I think everybody should be able to choose their last words. See number 4, ice, autobahn, Bayern. When you cannot use motherfucker, while writing, recording, or performing a hip-hop song. Number 2, while being attacked by Nazi skinheads. Because if they're German skinheads, they won't understand you anyway. To achieve the same effect, I suggest, fick deine Mutter. You shouldn't use the word motherfucker for men when talking to your girlfriends, because for some reason women don't find motherfucker very romantic. Number 4, when talking to someone's mother. And number 5, of course, when talking to me, because I'll kill you if you do. So, the next time you feel the need to say it, think before you talk. Say to yourself, do I really need to use this word right now? Is this really necessary? Because who knows? If you get in my way, your next motherfucker could be your last. Thank you very much for your attention. It's been fun.